Transformation taking place along downtown Kingston's waterfront. We have details on the developments in our regular urban scope feature, plus more tributes for the late former Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Edward Seaga. There's also the latest news of the day. Hello, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, June 13. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says plans are moving apace to develop 2 special economic zones in the next 3 years. Mr. Holness says Cabinet has approved a submission for the development of the south side of the Caymanas lands. An investor conference is now being organized to determine market interest in starting the development. The Prime Minister says negotiations are also being finalized to advance work on the north side of the Caymanas lands.
Now, can you imagine the level of employment that will bring? So we have tasked ourselves to get it done. It's not easy, these negotiations and to develop the plans and the studies, but we have studied it to death, we have negotiated it to death, we have now to bring it to life.
Prime Minister Holness was speaking at a recent strategic leadership retreat held by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. 6 countries, Nepal, Malta, Hong Kong, Japan, Jordan and Oman, have called on Jamaica to assist them in establishing their own tourism resilience centers. Jamaica is the first to establish an entity of this nature, as the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center was officially opened in January at the University of the West Indies, Mona. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says that as a result of this forward thinking, the country is in demand to assist with the implementation of similar organizations.
This is one of the elements of thought leadership that Jamaica can truly be proud of, that we as a little country is presenting to the world a real opportunity to look at how to manage disruptions and to build capacity to enable thriving after mega disasters.
Minister Bartlett was speaking with JIS News a few days ago after his return from the Asian Resilience Summit in Nepal. School boards will be allocated $5 million per year for minor repairs and maintenance of school plants. Minister with Oversight for the Education Portfolio, Carl Samuda, says larger projects will be done centrally, and a directive has been given for building officers to consult with the school leadership before they carry out work.
The requests must be identified, they must be priced, and they must be listed in a manner that can be examined carefully, and the resources that we have would be applied proportionately depending on the amount of money that is available.
Minister Samuda was addressing a recent education stakeholder forum held at the Gulfview Hotel in Manchester. Meanwhile, a Memorandum of Understanding has been signed between the National College for Education Leadership, NCEL, and the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, for the development of a free online leadership course for educators. The agreement was signed recently at the Education Ministry's Hero Circle headquarters in Kingston. Director of the National College for Education Leadership, Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, says the content will be developed and provided through NCEL's learning management systems. She says it will strengthen the leadership and management of child-friendly schools in Jamaica.
Additionally, the partnership will seek to support the ongoing professional development of principals, the teaching and learning process, and create a readily accessible avenue for educators to retrieve and access digital content on child-friendly school environments, policies and processes, prioritizing management from a positive discipline and safe school environment perspective.
The project is valued at close to $6 million. The content will be implemented in an initial 10 schools by year end. It will be crafted in collaboration with the Ministry's Curriculum and Support Services Unit and the Media Services Unit. And the Ministry of Education has also signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Nestlé Jamaica Limited to extend that company's health and wellness program in schools. The MOU will be executed through two main programs, Nestlé for Healthier Kids and the Nestlé Youth Employment Initiative. The MOU was recently signed at Gregory Park Primary, which is the 15th school on the program. Minister Terry Long says the goal is to have 15,000 students participating by the end of the year. Children will benefit from Wellness and Wheels class visits and International Chef Days. There will also be nutrition education training for teachers and the establishment of school gardens. It seeks to promote nutrition, health, and wellness among school-aged children and to encourage employability skills among young adults.
And another thing that we have done in this MOU, we've included a fruit aspect. So we want to introduce them to healthy fruits like bananas and oranges, and we want to introduce them to healthy drinks like water. Water is the healthiest thing that children can drink. We want to stay away from the canned juice and the box juice, which are high in sugar.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness has convened a panel to review a recent incident in which a mother and her two daughters were denied care at a hospital. Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the panel will consist of representatives from the leadership of the Southeast and Southern Regional Health Authorities. The panel will determine what breaches took place and what action is to be taken. According to reports, the mother and her daughters were raped by gunmen who broke into their home. When they reportedly went for a rape kit, they were turned away from one hospital and later waited several hours to be seen at another institution. And finally, preparatory work on the grave for former Prime Minister Edward Seaga continues on schedule inside the National Heroes Park. Mr. Seaga, who will be accorded a state funeral on June 23, will be laid to rest close to Hugh Shearer and Michael Manley, Jamaica's third and fourth Prime Ministers respectively. Grave digging began on Monday and workers are now moving on to the masonry aspect of the work. When our news team visited the site earlier today, Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie said the work was on track for completion by this Sunday.
Based on the program that has been worked out, they are on schedule to complete before the end of the week. We should have the vault being completed and the other works associated with getting the area ready for the funeral is also well advanced.
Edward Seaga served as Jamaica's fifth Prime Minister between 1980 and 1989. He died on May 28, and his funeral will be held at the Cathedral of the Most Holy Trinity on North Street. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Jamaica, I can help you protect our citizens.
Jamaica Eye will play a part in increasing your public safety.
Jamaica Eye is part of an island-wide network of camera surveillance systems designed to increase the safety of you, our citizens. If you have a camera system outside your home or office facing a public space, log on to jamaicai.gov.jm today. Jamaica Eye, we're all connected. The Ministry of National Security, creating a safer and prosperous Jamaica.
The UDC has been leading the redevelopment of downtown Kingston, and in the process, several business opportunities have emerged. We revisit the area for an update.
I'm quite pleased with the development here because it offers a lot of just access to downtown right now.
The revitalization of downtown Kingston has been gaining momentum as the Urban Development Corporation UDC continues to partner with investors in facilitating the redevelopment plans. As a result, significant physical transformation has taken place over the last decade in the area. One of the first was led by multinational telecommunication giant Digicel. It constructed its global headquarters on prime waterfront property sold by the UDC. Over on Hanover Street is the new Grace Kennedy's multi-story complex. This will increase the offerings downtown as the entity makes plans to open a supermarket on the building. This property was also made available by the UDC. And nearby is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Development, being managed by the UDC. This multi-story building is now the ministry's permanent headquarters. Bringing tremendous vitality to the recreational and gastronomy options along the waterfront is the Victoria Pier building, a variety of offerings for the taking.
It's really good for downtown and they're loving it.
I'm very encouraged that the persons saw it fit to develop this part of the city next to the waterfront where you can really enjoy the ambience.
Investment opportunities are on the market for a concessionaire to operate the food bazaar at Festival Marketplace and a developer for a multi-story parking garage. The uptake in business in the downtown area is being facilitated through the tax incentive program being managed by the UDC. It was developed to encourage the private sector to redevelop properties to stop urban decay in selected areas. The tax incentive program enables persons who own or lease property in areas defined as special development areas to access incentives to redevelop the properties under the 1995 Urban Renewal Tax Relief Act. As part of the redevelopment of downtown Kingston is regulating informal commercial activities by providing appropriate areas to do business in the market district. As such, the Red Rose Fish Market and Jubilee Market have been completed by the UDC on behalf of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. These will allow for smoother transaction of business for vendors and consumers. Adding to the socio-cultural vitality is the craft market. Coming on stream is the development of the National Heroes Park and surrounding areas, Government Oval. The park will be the new location for the Houses of Parliament, for which the design has been selected from a public tendered competition. The redevelopment of downtown Kingston is being guided by the phased implementation of the UDC's Downtown Kingston and Port Royal Redevelopment Plan 2030. It is aligned to the Vision 2030 Jamaica National Development Plan. Aspects of the plan already completed include the construction of a bus park, one component of a multimodal transport center, and the upgrading of St. William Grant Park. The corporation sees downtown Kingston as the city of possibilities, the ideal location for work, leisure, culture, gastronomy, and entertainment.
So we really enjoy the downtown redevelopment because if not, we would have been somewhere else, and I hope it continues.
I would love to see people come downtown and help with the development because the waterfront is growing, it's getting bigger. And in any country that you go to, the waterfront and downtown is the most lucrative place you could ever have.
The Urban Development Corporation, making development happen for you. To learn more about the work of the Urban Development Corporation, call 876-656-8031 or visit their website at www.udcja.com. You may also follow them on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, or visit their information center on the ground floor, Kingston Mall, downtown Kingston.
Island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it.
No dash, no paper, no dash, no plastic. Dispose your garbage responsibly. No know how to recycle, learn it quick. And if you drop it, better pick up every piece of it. Plastics last forever, don't forget the bits. Cause when them touch the street, them end up in the sea. Collect pan the reef where they fish them feed. And when you want seafood, I eat your
Keep
eat.
the island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. No dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica.
We now turn our attention to a few of the achievements made by our late former Prime Minister, Edward Seaga.
There were other things that you did despite all the challenges that we're still reaping the benefits from. There was a National Development Bank that you helped to implement, the Agricultural Credit Bank, the National Investment Bank of Jamaica, the Export-Import Bank, Jamaica National Investment Promotions, which is now JAMPRO, were all put in by you in the 80s.
Yes, that's part of that group of financial institutions that I created.
Mm-hmm.
The Agricultural Credit Bank was a bit of an experiment because there were little banks around all over the country, little people's banks. And that's where the farmers used to go. But so many of them had run into financial trouble in the 70s that they had no money to lend and they were in deep debt. So we weeded them out and took out the best of the bunch and make sure that they were in geographical areas that would be easily reached by the farmers in the community, and started to rebuild those with some international aid. And that's where farmers went. You can't get a farmer to go into a multi-story, high-rise building and talk to people about loans that he wants, because his loan is far too small for being of any interest. So he's intimidated right away. So the Agricultural Credit Bank was not a success in my view. It was there now for big agriculture, but the country wouldn't accept big agriculture. You know, we had it in sugar and bananas, and we were having plenty of trouble with those. And we weren't going to go into other crops that would have taken the place of the reduction of sugar and banana. So the Agricultural Credit Bank wasn't the route to go on that one.
But there were other policies that you put in place that seem to have had measure of success. One of the things that you did was to put in something that created an initial spark in the telecommunications industry, and that is Digiport.
Yes. That was at the end of my period as Prime Minister. We had, we realized that the world was now beginning to see something that was brand new, telecommunications on a different level. Up until that time, if you wanted to send a picture overseas, it would be very distorted using the technology that existed then. And if you wanted to do any copies of anything, you had to put it on a Gestetner machine and roll it off. And things that held up the whole system of business. So we decided to introduce the modern technology. And the party that we spoke with that was most influential would be Cable and Wireless, because they were the communication giant. They were a monopoly. And we made a deal with them to take back some of the powers that they had and to give them other powers. One of the things that we did was to open the field to operations abroad that would like to have certain parts of their business carried further offshore than onshore, because of the costs onshore was higher than the offshore costs. doctors who did a lot of writing on their patients and that sort of thing. They would send these down by the internet, and the young people who we had employed would then transcribe them, send them back in another form. And there were many other ways in it, including the answering of calls from overseas and that sort of thing. I call it the Digiport. It was hugely successful. In the very first year, we had hundreds of young people that flocked to it. We had to close down a youth camp and turn it into a training institution, locale for a youth camp. And I had expected that if we had gone on after 1989 to open enough of those to give you 10,000 young people employed, because it was so attractive to them.
Another attractive thing that you did, Mr. Seaga, was you put in place the food aid program. There was the Golden Age Home. There was a National Committee for Drug Abuse. There was also the redevelopment of the Kingston waterfront. Internationally, you're a part of the Caribbean Basin Initiative, and also there was also the concept of a manpower bank, which was later adopted by the UNDP.
Yes. When people retire, some people feel that that is the end of their lives. And some people feel I can still work. There's a lot of things I can do. But employers are not willing to hire people at that age because they can't give them policy, can't give them insurance, and they can't give them other forms of protection. So we said, well, that wide pool of people who have retired but would like to go on to do other things, why doesn't the United Nations make them available to countries that are lacking in that kind of skills and at that kind of level of leadership? And we can draw on those pools for people to come to Jamaica and help us in that respect. I called it the Manpower Bank, but they changed it up. I gave it another name that has the initials STAS.
Well, I dare to make a difference, and I dare to take a stand. Let me dare to think of someone else who's in need of a helping hand.
The Office of the Children's Advocate is very aware that we have some parents who get particularly anxious at the start of a new school year. And so we really just wanted to share with you a few tips that you can utilize to help keep your children, especially the very young ones who are going out for the first time, nice and safe from sexual abuse. Parents need to recognize that the private parts, as we call them, or the genitalia, are regular parts of the body. And so in teaching your children about the forehead and the nose and the hand, you can also teach them the names of these body parts, because that does two things. It puts them in a position to speak about these parts when something is going wrong, and it also tells them that even though they're private parts, it's not too private to talk about, particularly with a parent. Children need to know that there should be no secrets between them and their parents or guardians. Oftentimes, when persons want to abuse children, they tend to encourage them to keep a little secret. You know, this is between me and you. But from very early, parents need to establish with their children that the lines of communication are open. Mommy and daddy, or auntie and uncle, or whoever is the responsible adult in that child's life, can actually have a discussion, age appropriate of course, about anything at all that may be troubling the child. The third tip is that parents need to cultivate throughout the child's lifespan that environment whereby the child feels comfortable to speak. Conversation should not be off limit, topics should not be taboo, and you really need to get to a stage whereby you have teachable moments, we call them. So we see a lot of things reported in the newspapers, sometimes on the nightly news, and we can use some of these instances of horrible things that are happening to other children to start little discussions with our own children to give them tips as to how they can avoid or prevent, perhaps completely, any such reality happening to them. For these tips, and of course any other information that deals with children, that is anyone under 18 years, please feel free to contact the Office of the Children's Advocate. We're at 72 Harbour Street, downtown Kingston, and our numbers are 948-1134 or website www.oca.gov.jm.
Well, I dare to make a difference, and I dare to take a stand. Let me dare you to think of someone else who's in need of a helping hand.
I love waking up every day in this country. This is where I was born and raised. I have such a passion for my country, and for me, this is home. In Jamaica, a lot of people, they look at just like beach, sea, sand, but our mountains are something to behold. It's majestic up there, and it's a different type of peace. It's a different type of lifestyle completely. I could mention many different places that are amazing, but the one thing I do love about Jamaica as well is that you can find that relaxation, you can find that chill in your backyard. Apart from it being an incredibly beautiful country, an incredibly beautiful island, we have a wonderful, wonderful culture, wonderful, vibrant, colorful people. There is definitely a realness to Jamaica. There's definitely something that no matter what keeps you in touch with reality here. Why come to Jamaica? It all comes back down to Jamaica as a whole. The food, the music, the culture, the people, the climate. Come out and meet us, come out and experience what Jamaica has to offer.
It's a new beginning.
New day is dawning. It's time to arise. We are the gene of achievement and pride.
A bold new beginning. Time for action. We have the spirit to fight on. This is Jamaica. This is our land. We have our future with God in our plan. We'll play our part building this great nation. This is Jamaica. This is our land.
Let us make every effort to forge unity and resolve to work hard for our prosperity.
Leaving our children a legacy of hope, breaking the shackles and smashing the old.
This is Jamaica.
This is Jamaica.
This is our land.
This is our
We have our future with God in our plan. We'll play our part building this great nation. This is Jamaica. This
Let me hear the children say.
This is Jamaica. This is our land. We have a future with God in our plan. We'll play our part building this great nation. This is Jamaica. Come on, everybody, let's sing. This is Jamaica. This is our land. We have our future with God in our plan. We'll play our part building this great nation. This is Jamaica. This is our land.
As we close today's show, we ask that you stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.